And then somebody calls up his house. And of course you have to understand, back in the 90s and even up, like through 2000, there's a lot of people that were very, in the various militia groups, that were existing at the time, concerned about, federal agents coming in and doing harm to them. People had Waco fresh in their mind, Randy Weaver, and so, and especially among members of the militia. So when somebody called up Mr. Puckett and said, there's a kill team on their way to your house right now, get out. What's the most basic instinct of any human being? Survival. So he grabbed his rucksack and he boogied. Now up until that point, he had not committed any kind of a violation of federal law. And they knew that. They knew that if they tried to take him into court, the judge would be like, where's your case? But by calling them up and saying they're coming to kill you, he has escaped, out of a very real sense of immediate peril. And for that, they hung him on a technicality. And even though that was really only a 36 to 50 months or so that he was supposedly sentenced, he's still somewhere in the federal prison system. Mark Cornke, Michigan militia, he too was targeted. And I won't get into particulars of his case. I think you kind of got the idea. They got him into the Michigan Department of Corrections. He was supposed to have a 3-year stint. They held him for more than 5 years. Now, this is what the communists used to tell our POWs in Vietnam. They said, we can keep you forever. Guantanamo, enemy combatant. With all these things that they're throwing at us, they're saying the same thing. If we don't like you, if we think you're a dissident, we can and we will hold you as long as we please. Number 8, to control the press. Well, that kind of goes back to arbitrary detention and like I said, they have been silencing, members of the press. There was the Valerie Plame affair. Journalists were arrested and told, we will not release you until you cooperate with us with this Plame affair. Because, these journalists had sources that the federal government wanted to get access to. And of course, journalists' credibility goes out the window and they cease to become employable if they reveal their confidential sources. In fact, I believe Naomi Wolf, and this is actually taken from The Guardian in London. This is entitled Fascist America in 10 Easy Steps. And she said that, being a journalist herself, that this was basically her point. This was her limit. That when they started arresting journalists for speaking their mind, that's when she would shut up. And so it runs down here real quick. Homeland Security brought a criminal complaint against reporter Greg Callist, claiming he threatened critical infrastructure when he and a TV producer were filming victims of Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana. Callist had been a bestseller critical of the Bush administration. Now, critical infrastructure incidentally ties in with the Patriot Acts and anti-terrorism provisions. It all revolves around continuity of government, and continuity of government, involves a lot of things that are considered critical infrastructure. This would include utilities, our interstate highway system. And the interstate highway system was not designed for commercial purposes. It was developed under the Eisenhower administration as a military transportation network. And this, of course, was in a day and age when there was need for that sort of thing, and now it's mainly for commercial purposes, but that could still change. There are, in fact, some provisions that are falling back on the interstate highway system as a military asset. So critical infrastructure, that's very important. Even the internet is considered critical infrastructure. Pro-liberty activists are routinely targeted, and internet news sources are being targeted. And this is a form of press freedom as well. A lot of what people are finding out about what our government's doing behind closed doors, and even from thousands of miles away, because we all can't watch C-SPAN and we all can't sit in the gallery to see what's going on. We have to get our news when we can, how we can, and for a lot of people in a 24/7 world, by way of the internet and a user-based system. And some of the biggest revelations, the biggest exposés are coming through internet-based journalism. We have the blogosphere, but these things are being silenced. And the Pentagon has been working towards this. There's a report where the Pentagon, and I happen to have this on my computer at home, the Pentagon refers to the internet as an enemy weapons system that needs to be eliminated. Well, first of all, who's the enemy and what's so dangerous about the internet? Well, the internet is the information highway. Now, obviously, they want to have transparency from you. They want to know, because they're spying on you. They want to know what you're doing, when you're doing it, how you're doing it. But they want to keep secret from you, as Mr. Bush had pointed out. Well, we're not going to tell you everything that's going on with the war on terror. There are some things we will tell you, and there's some things that we won't. Well, that's not transparency. But people are spilling the beans, they're leaking things, and a story can get out to the internet, and with a matter of minutes, it's coast to coast. Mainstream media, on the other hand, has been working to suppress information. Before the development of the internet, something could happen on the East Coast, and most people on the West Coast would not be aware of that newsworthy event because news would be regionalized. And even now, not merely just regionalized, but sometimes compartmentalized from state to state, or even within a region within a state. And then other media outlets just choose not to report on it. Now, editors love a good story. If they see something newsworthy, they want to run it, but they have their bosses, and the publishers have their bosses, and those bosses say, we don't want you to run that story, and if you try to, you're out of a job. And again, who owns these companies? Interlocking directorates. So there's a suppression of information there, and so Americans increasingly, in order to have a free press, have relied on the internet. So if information is the weapon, if we are fighting an information war, if information warfare is in fact the war of the future, then obviously the enemy is us, because we're the ones that are sharing the information with each other through email, through blogs, through personal websites, even the social networking websites like MySpace and so forth. And that kind of begs the question, if we're the enemy, what are they afraid of? And that kind of brings me back to the Second Amendment. North American Union, abolition of the Constitution. It seems to me that they think that we're going to get angry and do something about it when American people have said enough is enough. But I could go on additionally about journalists, but I want to move on to the other point here. I was talking about being a dissident and being targeted for it because you're so behind. And we've seen this a lot on Fox News, where O'Reilly or Hannity or somebody shouts down their own guest that they invite on the program. And this point, number 9, is dissent equals treason. We're told repeatedly, through official outlets, that if you hold an unorthodox view, that you're the domestic enemy.